It's the 25th of March 2026. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you tonight's bulletin for the Newsfirst team, I am Jayamal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Vinajji Senviratna. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
Ask for S-Lawn Polygon by name.
Global energy crisis deepens. Philippines announces energy emergency. Fuel queues in India and Bangladesh. Trump declares victory over Iran. Tehran disputes Trump's claim, says not ready for peace talks. An increase in US military activity in the Middle East. Pakistan emerges as key mediator in US-Iran war. Indian Prime Minister and Sri Lankan President hold telephone conversation. Discusses global energy and maritime security. Russia's Deputy Minister of Energy to arrive in Sri Lanka this week on a government invitation. Foreign reserves increase. Sri Lanka poised to face external shocks. An assurance from the central bank governor. The stark reality of Sri Lanka cricket's monumental decline. What really happened?
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
Ask for S-Lawn Polygon by name.
As the conflict in the Middle East continues to disrupt global energy markets, several countries across Asia and beyond are experiencing fuel shortages, rising prices and growing public anxiety, prompting governments to take emergency measures.
Situation in the Philippines.
In response to the Middle East conflict, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declared a state of energy emergency. Philippine Energy Secretary Sharon Garin stated that based on current consumption levels, the country has fuel supplies sufficient for approximately 45 days. The Philippine President warned in an interview with Bloomberg that aircraft operations could be affected due to shortages of aviation fuel. He also confirmed that an executive order has been signed to safeguard the country's energy security.
Situation in India.
Foreign media report growing public unrest in India amid fears of a potential fuel shortage. Long queues have formed at fuel stations across multiple regions as citizens rush to secure supplies. To manage the situation and prevent disorder, police have been deployed near fuel stations in Gujarat, where crowd control measures are being enforced. The fuel queues have also disrupted road traffic, particularly along routes connecting Hyderabad and Secunderabad, where congestion was reported yesterday morning. Members of the public described long queues that have persisted for over 24 hours, with people waiting day and night to purchase petrol, highlighting widespread frustration and hardship.
Last 24 hours I am seeing that queue is only long. People are waiting in petrol pump from day and night, and people also are helpless but they can't speak anymore.
Situation in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh has sharply increased aviation fuel prices by 79% according to foreign media reports. This marks the second fuel price increase within the month. The steep hike has triggered long queues at fuel stations across the country as motorists and businesses scramble to secure supplies amid rising costs.
Situation in Australia.
Australia has also been affected by the ongoing Middle East crisis, with fuel prices raised multiple times in recent weeks. As prices climbed rapidly, there is growing discussion within the country on the possibility of granting tax relief on fuel to ease the burden on consumers.
Situation in Chile.
Chile has announced one of the most significant fuel price hikes in its history. Authorities confirmed that effective from tomorrow, petrol prices will rise by 30%, while diesel prices will increase by 60%. Foreign media described the move as the largest fuel price adjustment ever recorded in Chile.
Iran's press TV said today that Iran has responded negatively to an American proposal aimed at ending the ongoing war, insisting that it will only occur on Tehran's own terms and timeline. An official with knowledge of the details of the proposal, speaking exclusively to Press TV, said Iran will not allow US President Donald Trump to dictate the timing of the war's end.
Tehran has categorized the latest overture, which was delivered via a friendly regional intermediary, as a ploy to heighten tensions and has responded negatively to it. The official outlined 5 specific conditions under which Iran would agree to end the war. These include 1. A complete halt to aggression and assassinations by the enemy. 2. The establishment of concrete mechanisms to ensure that the war is not reimposed on the Islamic Republic. 3. Guaranteed and clearly defined payment of war damages and reparations. 4. The conclusion of the war across all fronts and for all resistance groups involved throughout the region. 5. Iran's exercise of sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz is and will remain Iran's natural and legal right, and it constitutes a guarantee for the implementation of the other parties' commitments and must be recognized. The official further noted that these stipulations are in addition to demands previously presented by Tehran during the second round of negotiations in Geneva, which took place just days before the US and Israel carried out a fresh round of aggression on the 28th of February 2026. Meanwhile, the UK's Telegraph reported that Iran had launched a cruise missile attack on a US aircraft carrier despite Donald Trump's claim that talks to end the conflict had begun. Tehran has released a video allegedly showing coast-to-sea cruise missiles of the Iranian Navy fired at the aircraft strike carrier, as per an ex-post from semi-official news agency Fars. According to foreign media outlets, the Iranian military claimed the strikes had forced the USS Abraham Lincoln to change its position in the Arabian Sea and warned additional powerful strikes would follow once it entered range. Meanwhile, Press TV also confirmed the same, with the Iranian Army's Navy adding that the movements of the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier group are being closely and constantly monitored and will be targeted if it comes within the range of Iranian missiles. Rear Admiral Shahram Irani, the commander of the Iranian Navy, warned that should the hostile carrier group enter the range of Iranian missile systems, it would be targeted with crushing strikes.
US President Donald Trump has asserted that the United States has already effectively secured victory in its conflict with Iran. He made these remarks while stating that as a result of negotiations, Iran had given the United States a quote-unquote significant prize worth a tremendous amount of money related to energy supplies and the Strait of Hormuz. Amid these claims, questions continue to arise over what is truly unfolding in the Middle East.
After nearly a month of escalating conflict in the Middle East, US President Donald Trump signaled on Monday that the fighting could be brought to a halt. He stated that attacks on Iran would be suspended for a period of 5 days to facilitate negotiations. However, on several occasions, Iran has rejected President Trump's claims regarding talks, insisting that it would not engage in any negotiations with the United States under any circumstances. Despite these denials, President Trump has repeatedly maintained that discussions with Iran are ongoing.
They're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it, so that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone. Khomeini, all gone, as the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum racked up pretty good, and everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone, but we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out, and the present, the gift they made to us was very significant, and they said they were going to do it, and it happened, and they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow?
Yeah, it was related to the flow and to the Strait, yeah. It was.
Are you negotiating on who's going to control the strait from now on?
No, we'll have control of anything we want. Look, if we can end this without more lives being down, without knocking out $10 billion electric plants that are brand new and the apple of their eye, I'd like to be able to do that, But they can't have certain things. I mean, you know the things. I don't have to go over the list, but again, it starts with no nuclear weapons, and they've agreed to that. There won't be any nuclear weapons. They're not going to have, and they're not going to have enrichment, any of those things. But look, I hate to say that we're in a very good bargaining position, and I hate to say that they're defenseless because, until that last missile is fired, they have little power. But we are in about the best bargaining position. We're way ahead of schedule. And again, they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no missile protection, and most of their missiles are gone. Most of their launches we've killed. We've killed about 82% of their launches. So even if they had a missile, they can't launch it.
Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, foreign media reports indicate that the United States has submitted a 15-point proposal to Iran, outlining key conditions aimed at de-escalation and broader security assurances. According to the reports, the proposal was delivered to Iran through Pakistan. The contents of the proposal reportedly include demands that Iran shut down all 3 of its nuclear facilities, halt uranium enrichment within Iran, suspend the production of ballistic missiles, cease providing support to extremist groups, and fully open the Strait of Hormuz. However, a detailed official document outlining all 15 points of the proposal has not yet been publicly released. Commenting on Iran's position, Fuad Izadi, a professor at the University of Tehran, addressed the issue during an interview with India's NDTV news network. He stated that the Iranian military would welcome any ground invasion undertaken by the United States. According to Izadi, targeting ground forces would be easier for Iran compared to countering high-speed F-35 fighter jets, suggesting that Iranian forces would find it more manageable to engage foot soldiers in the event of a land-based operation. These remarks reflect the response conveyed by Iranian representatives to statements made by President Donald Trump regarding peace talks, reiterating Tehran's consistent position amid claims of ongoing negotiations.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. قدرت راهبردی که از آن دم می‌زدید تبدیل به شکست راهبردی شده. مدعی ابرقدرتی دنیا اگر می‌توانست از این مخمصه رها شود تا حالا شده بود. اسم شکستتان را توافق نگذارید. دوران وعده هایتان به سر رسیده. امروز در جهان 2 جبهه وجود دارد: حق و باطل، و هر حق طلب آزاده‌ای تحت تأثیر امواج رسانه‌ای شما اغوا نمی‌شود. سطح خود درگیری هایتان به مرحله مذاکره خودتان با خودتان رسیده؟ نه خبری از سرمایه گذاری هایتان در منطقه خواهد بود و نه قیمت سابق انرژی و نفت را خواهید دید تا وقتی که بفهمید ثبات در منطقه توسط دست قدرتمند نیروهای مسلح ما تضمین می شود. ثبات از طریق قدرت. صراحتاً اعلام می کنیم تا موعدی که اراده ما نباشد هیچ وضعیتی به روال سابق بر نمی گردد. این اراده زمانی ایجاد می شود که به طور کامل فکر اقدام علیه ملت ایران از اذهان کثیف شما پاک شود. حرف اول و آخر ما از همان روز نخست این بوده، هست و خواهد بود. کسی همچون ما با کسی مثل شما کنار نخواهد آمد، نه حالا و نه هیچ وقت دیگری. و من نصر الا من عند الله العزیز الحکیم.
The United States is reportedly preparing to deploy additional military forces to the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran and signs of a possible ground operation, according to international media reports. Foreign media say U.S. authorities are making arrangements to send around 1,000 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. Army to the Middle East. These troops are specially trained in airborne operations using parachute landings. Some reports, however, suggest that the number of troops expected to be deployed could be as high as 3,000. Earlier reports also indicated that 2,500 additional U.S. Marines, along with naval vessels carrying sailors, are scheduled to arrive in the region by the end of this week. Analysts say the scale and timing of these deployments point to preparations by the United States for a possible ground operation targeting Iran. Meanwhile, the International Atomic Energy Agency has confirmed maritime security regulations can transit the Strait of Hormuz safely through coordination with the Iranian government. Despite this assurance, Iranian forces recently turned back a container ship that was sailing through the Strait of Hormuz toward Pakistan. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the vessel had attempted to pass through Iranian waters without proper transit authorization. The container ship, identified as Sealan, was sailing from Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates to Karachi, where it was intercepted and ordered to turn back. The latest military movements, attacks on nuclear-linked facilities and restrictions on maritime passage underscore the growing volatility in the Middle East as regional tensions continue to escalate with no clear resolution in sight.
Will Pakistan's involvement bear fruit in bringing about lasting peace to the Middle East?
Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said that Pakistan is ready to host talks between the United States and Iran amid US President Donald Trump's claims of ongoing negotiations between Washington and Tehran. Reports have emerged from several international media outlets suggesting a potential diplomatic breakthrough as US Vice President J.D. Vance is reportedly set to meet Iranian officials in Islamabad, Pakistan. The high-level talks expected later this week could see the Vice President convening with the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament. While the US delegation is scheduled to arrive in the Pakistani capital within the next 48 hours, Tehran is yet to officially confirm its participation. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also wrote on X that Pakistan, quote, stands ready and honored to be the host to facilitate meaningful and conclusive talks for a comprehensive settlement of the ongoing conflict, end quote.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Anura Kumar Dissanayake held a high-level telephone discussion. Against the backdrop of escalating military tensions in the Middle East, the two leaders focused on critical issues, including global energy security, the protection of vital maritime routes, and the strengthening of bilateral cooperation.
During the telephone conversation, the two leaders discussed the evolving situation in West Asia with an emphasis on disruptions affecting global energy security. Both the leaders also reiterated the importance of keeping shipping lines open and secure in the interest of the whole world. The two leaders reviewed progress on various initiatives aimed at strengthening bilateral energy cooperation and enhancing regional security. Prime Minister reiterated India's firm commitment to work closely together in addressing shared challenges in line with India's neighbourhood-first policy and Mahasagar vision. The Russian Deputy Minister of Energy, Roman Marshavin, is scheduled to visit Sri Lanka this week at the government's invitation. During the visit, several meetings and discussions are expected to take place, focusing on potential solutions to help address the country's ongoing energy crisis.
Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, says the country is currently in a relatively strong position to absorb external shocks despite heightened global uncertainty triggered by the Middle East conflict and rising energy prices.
We see one of the factors is that our inflation target is 5%. Actual inflation last month was 1.6%. And end of this month also it will be around 2% based on our projections. So in terms of inflation, we have a sufficient buffer for us to be able to maintain inflation around 5%. So compared to the earlier projection before this Middle East conflict. We were hoping to reach the inflation target towards 5% around third quarter of this year. I think this is probably because of this shock and some increases in energy prices. We probably reach the target somewhere in second quarter of 2026. What's the position is that in terms of inflation, we have good space for us to absorb this external shock to the inflation because we are disadvantage of being running low inflation compared to target. So that's one point. Other point also in terms of reserve buffer compared to where we were during the last couple of years. We were in the highest position, 7.3 billion end of February, which is also a better position. It has created some space for us to absorb this kind of external shock for a period. So this period, a long period, that's still uncertain. But right now we are in a better position compared to reserves and the inflation. That's our key responsibilities. So at this kind of uncertain period, all we can do is to wait and see how things would evolve, and then on that basis we can respond with different policy measures, as already government has taken certain policy measures to curtail the demand for especially energy. Hopefully that will see some impact on the economy and also inflation. So going forward also, depending on the situation, I'm sure authorities will take appropriate decisions to manage and minimize the impact of this shock to the overall economy.
Move forward, Sri Lanka. Sailor Enterprises presents Russell Peters returns to Colombo for the Relaxed World Tour, 31st March 2026 at the all-new Lumina Hall in the City of Dreams, powered by the Australian Migration Consultants. Tickets out now on bookmyshow.com.
වෙනස් වෙමු. අපේ රට වෙනස් වෙයි.
Welcome back to the news. Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Pires says that all opposition groups must unite with a common goal in mind. He made these remarks during a press conference convened by the Mahajanahanda organization this morning.
The press conference convened by the joint opposition under the banner Mahajanahanda was attended by former Minister Professor G.L. Pires, Lasanthala Gewan of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party's Gampaha district organizer Ajit Manna Peruma.
Today the opposition in our country is comprised of numerous parties. Each of those individual parties has its own unique identity and its own philosophy. Therefore it is absolutely impossible to expect everyone to forget those differences and merge into a single party or alliance. That is simply not practical. So what is practical? For the sake of the common goal, the national goal, all opposition groups, despite maintaining their separate identities, must be prepared to enter into a common program to achieve these shared objectives.
SJB MP Chaminda Vijayasiri stated that the most suitable leader who can lead the country into the future is opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
Despite claims by former Minister Professor G.L. Pires that all opposition groups must unite with a common goal in mind, SJB MP Chaminda Vijayasiri says that the most suitable leader for the country is opposition leader Sashit Premadasa.
නායකයෙක් නැද්ද? විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයාද නායකයා? එහෙම නැත්නම් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාද නායකයා? කවුද මේක ලීඩ් කරන්නේ? ශ්‍රී ලංකා ප්‍රජාතාන්ත්‍රික සමාජවාදී රජයේ විපක්ෂ නායක රජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයානේ. ඊට වඩා නාමල් මහත්තයෙක් හැපි වෙන්න හදනවා. නාමල් රාජපක්ෂලා නැවත බලයට ගේන කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවනම් ඒක ඒගලගේ අයිතියක්. සැබෑ නායකයා කවුද කියන කාරණේ තේරුම් ගන්න බැරි වුණා. ඡන්දදායකයට එහෙම වුණා. ඒකයි අපි කියන්නේ රටට අනාගතයට අවිසි නායකයා බුද්ධිමත් විදියට රටේ පුරවැසියාගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ සැබවින්ම හිට ගන්න නායකයා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා. බලය ගන්න වෙලාවට බලය අරන් රටත් අදලා රටේ ජනතාවත් සුඛිත මුදිත කරන යුගය අපි නිර්මාණය කරනවා.
The Sri Lanka Potujana Peramuna says that a capable team with strong management skills exists within the party under the leadership of Namal Rajapaksa.
We have friendly countries and a group of individuals with the ability to manage a crisis of this nature. However, there is no one in the current government capable of engaging with foreign nations effectively. Who is capable of doing this? There is no one in the current government who can negotiate with another country to secure essential resources like oil.
This is the response from the Youth for Change organization regarding the conduct of the opposition.
In reality, the opposition in Sri Lanka today has become a joke, a total laughing stock with no clear aim. Even those within the opposition have turned into jokers and are operating without a solid plan. In the face of this crisis, we are launching a structured, people-centric program. We are mobilizing the people for that purpose.
News First with the people.
Sri Lanka's top financial institutions and fintech innovators were honoured last evening at the 8th edition of the Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2026.
The 8th edition of the Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2026 concluded last evening, recognizing excellence and innovation in Sri Lanka's digital payments landscape. The award ceremony, organised by Lanka Pay, brought together over 600 industry leaders and policymakers.
The central bank statistics indicate that all players in our economy, including individuals, businesses, and the government, have increased their use of digital payments from day-to-day activities. There has been significant growth in the last couple of years. This includes individuals of all ages, from youth to the elderly, businesses of all sizes, from micro businesses to large conglomerates. The GoPay rollout in 2025 came at a critical juncture, and Sri Lanka was going through a recovery from economic crisis. Having more options to make digital payments improves the robustness of our national payment system, as it allows for greater flexibility and convenience for consumers and merchants alike. This also helps to improve Sri Lanka's standing in the global payment system landscape. Looking into the future, the next few years will be crucial for advancing national payment system, as we can now capitalize on our strong foundation that we have built so far, and also infrastructure we have already built up. For this purpose, we have developed a national payment system roadmap for the next 2 years, 26 and 27. The central bank, through this roadmap, envisions transforming Sri Lanka into a less cash economy and enabling the financial well-being of people through the development of a secure, efficient, inclusive and globally connected national payment system. As we move forward to popularize digital payments in the country, it is important for financial institutions to secure this public trust through improved safety, security and user-friendliness of fewer platforms and services. This is important one, is the trust, payment and safety and security. As well as we see the user-friendliness is also important aspect that people recognize and support. The central bank frequently introduces regulatory measures to improve these aspects. Proper and timely compliance with such regulatory measures will ensure that your institutions continue to provide the safest and most efficient platforms and service to your customers. This should improve the public trust in the national payment system and the overall financial system of Sri Lanka.
A total of 56 awards across 12 categories were presented, recognizing institutions driving financial inclusivity and digital transformation across the country.
What is really happening to Sri Lanka cricket that is falling into an abyss with each passing day? Are the administrators working towards improving the game or just improving themselves?
Protect our cricket.
Do you remember how a sum of $187,084.75 due for broadcasting rights ended up being credited to a foreign bank account? Later, it was revealed that an attempt was made to transfer another $436,541 to a different account. Why did this happen? Tonight, we remind you of another fact that was revealed during an audit carried out at Sri Lanka Cricket. On the 26th May 2016, Sri Lanka Cricket authorities requested permission from the central bank to open a foreign bank account. On the 20th June 2016, the central bank explicitly informed Sri Lanka Cricket in writing not to open such an account. But what happened? On the 7th May 2016, exactly 1 month and 13 days before that refusal letter arrived, Sri Lanka Cricket authorities had opened a foreign bank account. Now, that's quite the move, isn't it? That decision was made during a meeting of the Sri Lanka Cricket Executive Committee. Does this committee have the power to override the regulations laid out by the Foreign Exchange Act of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka? Do you remember the COPE committee meeting that took place on the 20th February 2020?
If it's the England and Wales Cricket Board, then they should transfer that amount. First, it is an act against a decision made by the Controller of Exchange in Sri Lanka. It is a violation of Sri Lanka's exchange laws. This is an indirect transfer of Sri Lankan funds into another account opened under Sri Lanka Cricket's name through a different bank. The Controller of Exchange has clearly stated, do not open a foreign account in the name of Sri Lanka Cricket, and denied permission. Yet, these transactions happened under a different bank name for Sri Lanka Cricket. Isn't this the same kind of transaction happening here?
මේ වගේම ට්‍රාන්සැක්ෂන් එකක් නේද මේ වෙන්නේ නෑ ඒකයි මේ වෙල්ෆාගෝ account එක තවත් BBB කම්පාස් කියන account එකක් ඊට පස්සේ බැනමේ කියන bank එකක් මේවා සඳහන් වෙනවනේ එක එක විදියට බැංකු.
So is it any surprise that the administrators who managed cricket with such superpowers are responsible for the sport's decline today? If the law had been properly enforced back then, our cricket could have been saved. Do you remember what the former sports minister said about how these individuals protected their political power? So why is the legal process being delayed? The public is watching.
The second edition of Sirasa is currently being held at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. The event is being held under the name Japura Premia, loosely translated to the love of Japura.
The second edition of Sirasa is currently underway at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. The students are being entertained by a number of artists including Miyuru Somaratna, Midori Karunaratna, Sunira Sumanga, Mihindu Aryaratna, Ashka Kulatunga and Siyumini Upayangi. The event is organized by the Students' Council of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences in collaboration with Sirasa FM.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
Good night.